This is a shout out to the weak and the broken down, the coal mine workers deep in the ground. This is for the old and the cold, the bought and the sold, the people like me who are tired of being told who they're supposed to be. This is a shout out to roses, to voguing and posing, to the deep and dark and dirty feelings that are still growing. This is for the people who go on picnics, the girls who wear red lipstick, the dumb and the naive, the powerful people you can't read. This is a shout out to the drunk in love, to the fearless son, to those who never sleep, to the friend that always has to keep the secrets. This is a shout out to the wanderers, the wonderers, the fighters, and the lovers, for people who hold open the door, for people who keep score, for the competitive. This is a shout out to the graceful, to the clueless, to the glass half full, to the annoyed, to the insecure, to the too mature, to the impatient, to the abused, to the misused, to the confused. Here's to the endless, to the tear-filled songs, to the gentle hugs and the killed bugs, to the popular girls crying in the locker room, the stay-at-home moms who love their brooms. This is for the human existence, the umbrellas, the pennies and the twister sellers. This is a shout out to the people who will never grow up, to the messed up by the corrupt, to pom-poms and human bombs, to the notes of a bird song and the dead inside. The people who've been wronged and those who always try to love a little more, cry a little more, laugh a little more, dance a little more. This is a shout out to the world in all its loveliness and ugliness and broken down and weakness. Here's to the pretty, the witty, the stressed, the materialistic and the obsessed. This is a shout out to the rosettes and sunsets praying each day because they know they're blessed. And the litter in the sea and the heart inside of me and all that glitters when you have a dream. This is a shout out to love and dying doves, and you and me, and hope above. Thank you. Okay, so my name is Salimah. In Arabic, my name means a whole bunch of things, but one of those is intact. In Arabic, when you say something is saliman, it means it is intact, incomplete. It means it is complete, and no imperfections, and I wouldn't define myself as any of those at any point in my life. See, when I began middle school, I began to shatter. By the time I reached the 7th grade, I was completely broken. My whole story of what had happened to what was going to happen didn't matter anymore. I was so focused on the now that I forgot that I was more than just my struggles. My poetry has helped me to counteract that. When I was in 7th grade, I wrote a poem called Yesterday. It was a sad poem about mistakes, and I wrote it on a piece of paper on a clipboard in the back of an assembly that I was probably supposed to be paying attention to, and I showed it to my teachers, my classmates, my friends, and I got a lot of mixed responses. Some people said that it was too deep, it was confusing, they didn't understand it, and other people said, wow, that really hit me. I didn't write that poem about any of the brokenness that I felt inside, but somehow it was a piece of inspiration that just hit me, and by sharing it, it instinctively became a part of my story. My English teacher at the time, Ms. Shaymat, used that poem as a part of her 8th grade English lesson. So by simply sharing a story that wasn't really mine, but somehow expressed what I was feeling inside, I had my first moment as a credible poet. I'm finishing up sophomore year of high school right now, and in this past year in particular, I've been writing nonstop. I've been writing poetry for as long as I can remember, but this constant streak of expression actually started with a really low time for me. I got to a point where I felt like I didn't know who I was anymore, and I felt like my friends didn't know who that was either, and that felt really terrible inside. See, I'd fought so long in middle school to get to know myself and my worth again, and here I was in the tech week of my sophomore theater production, and I was forgetting all over again. So I started to write. I wrote a whole poetry collection about who I was, so I'd always have an answer to that question, who am I, at hand. I actually took that collection and decided to make my debut book out of it, which is a poetic memoir that's coming out very, very shortly, fingers crossed. It's called Lovely, and it really just tells my story. My shout-out poem, the one I just performed for you, answers a part of that question, who are we, in the context of inclusiveness. The theme of this event is the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of 21st century teens, and I've noticed that finding inclusiveness within ourselves and within our communities is a struggle for many of us. We find it hard to put all of ourselves into an Instagram bio or a college essay or a resume for one of those summer jobs I know everyone is trying to get. And I wrote my shout-out poem so that I could have everybody in this room know that I notice you. It doesn't really tell a story, but I want everybody in here to know that they're worth something. And I'm trying so hard in life to believe in what everyone else has already given up on. So I want to share another part of my story with you with this next poem. And as you listen, try and see if you find a piece of yours in this piece of mine. A girl got tired of walking through an empty house. full of chores and scores and money and wood floors, so she decided to run away, off to a place called Candyland, a place she'd always dreamed of, and now she's standing on Sugar Plum Avenue, trying to decide if she should go left or right to Peppermint Forest or Gumdrop Mountains because they both look pretty enchanting. Eventually, she headed to Peppermint Forest. The minty, crisp smell filled her nose as she looked around herself, breaking off pieces of peppermints as she went, deciding to lean against one as she smiled at her new life. She made her way to Gumdrop Mountains, smiling too much to admit to herself that the gooiness of everything around her was making it hard to walk through. She got stuck on a raspberry-flavored mountain, slowly sinking like quicksand into the dreams that she had. I don't know if she ever made it out. Last time I saw her, she was standing on Sugar Plum Avenue, skipping off to Candyland. She had no idea sugar could crumble so fast. The sweetness isn't enough to last. Nevertheless, I want to taste it. And now I'm standing on Sugar Plum Avenue, trying to decide if I should head to the chocolate and gumdrops and artificial sweetener or turn back. See, that girl wasn't just anyone. I knew her very well, and I miss her so badly, because we used to be like this, standing on a bridge that was so secure, made of something I don't know, but I can promise you it was stronger than candy. But somehow it crumbled, miles and miles from Candyland. And I turned around to see who destroyed the bridge as I was swimming in an ocean of doubt, and there was a candy cane next to the ruins. It was her. She broke us. It is now somewhere lost in Candyland. Only God knows if she ever made it out. And now I'm wondering if I should follow her. I know it's dangerous as I'm standing on Sugar Plum Avenue, but I can't help it, I decide, as I head towards the same sugar-filled situation she's in. Because at the end of the day, she's all that I have. Thank you. So I wrote Sugar Plum Avenue by taking a concept that many of us know, Candyland, and telling a story that many of us have experienced. Losing ourselves is not a foreign concept to many of us, and maybe for some people in this room right now, that's a current reality. I know for teens in this century it specifically is. We often find ourselves trying to rediscover ourselves amidst the social pressure and individual struggles that we face in our daily lives. Those struggles appear to hinder us from telling our stories. I know for myself that I've found in my life that I've often tried to rediscover myself in order to find myself in a place where I'm feeling confident and secure and where my story is heading. But I've actually discovered that I found that way to the next chapter in all kinds of circumstances, and many of those being the times where I felt the most lost, the most down about myself, the most clueless. Sugar Plum Avenue was not an easy part of my story to tell by any means. That's actually one of my favorite parts of storytelling, how truly difficult it is. Vulnerability is a concept that many of us are trying to stay as far away from as possible. We feel that by opening up the shy, scared, awkward, raw parts of ourselves, we become so at risk that it isn't even worth it at all. I've witnessed the damage that causes when we close ourselves off in order to feel confident or more perfect. See, I believe that actually by opening up yourself and being vulnerable, you become the strongest version of yourself. Telling your story is not easy, but by at least pushing yourself to try, you immediately become stronger. I believe that the strongest people are the most honest people, and the most honest people practice vulnerability on a daily basis. I have so many friends like that, many of whom are in this room right now. See, one of those friends, Prava, right over there, told me one time that every moment in life comes with a feeling, and each feeling in each moment reminds me I'm alive. She put that into this shared note we have on our phones together called Beautiful Words in a New Way, where we put poems and inspirations and what I'm trying to get at, pieces of our stories. Now, why am I mentioning this? I'm mentioning this because I believe that's what storytelling all boils down to. Every story are beautiful words in a new way. And what my friend said about feelings within those moments we're recounting is what I want you to take away from my talk if you only leave with one thing. And that is that each moment you have in life is an experience. Those experiences are what make up your life, the life that can only be lived by you, and what comes from that life can only be told by you. You have to tell your own beautiful words in your own new way. And as you do that, try and listen to others as well, because anyone can share a story or lend an ear, but by doing both, you become balanced. And as you listen to other people, you can learn how we each triumph throughout our trials and tribulations as teens or just as people. And really, those stories are what make up this world that we're all living in. Now, I want to leave you with one last poem. It's a short poem from my upcoming book, and it's called Clouds in a Rainbow. This is just an entry to my world, what you've heard here today. This isn't the beginning or the middle or the end. This transcends time somehow. And my poems are read by the heart, not by the brain. And so this next poem that I'm going to read for you comes straight from this heart of mine, transcending time somehow to try and reach each individual soul here. I saw clouds and a rainbow in my dreams once. I tried to touch them, but I woke up. I saw clouds outside, white, decadent clouds, but no rainbow. I looked and I looked, but I couldn't find one, so I decided to be one. I let the tears in my eyes be the rain, and the roller coaster of my heart to be the arc, and the worry you have for me after I've disappeared to be the rainbow connection. And the story I'm telling be the gold at the end that you find when you look up into the sky, wondering where I've been. Thank you.